legitimate conversation.
I need to tilt that one camera up a bit. I don't know. Like
Staying alive in a... What's that?
When I'm looking, like it's crooked or something. Does it do like an auto angle?
No, it doesn't.
So I'm just a sideways guy.
There you go. A little more.
All those branches off it.
Perfect. Oh, we're live. It's saying that we're live now. One person joined. It's me, I think.
Go up a bit.
Are we live on Facebook? Yeah,
Yep.
people are watching. Okay.
Oh, Billy Worthman just joined.
Okay, here we go. You guys ready?
Yep.
Yep.
Good afternoon, everybody, and welcome back to the No Payne podcast. Today we have the CEO, Mike Payne, in studio as always. And joining us as well, we have the crew leader, Bo Wold. They're going to be talking to us today about on-site safety tips and everything in between. So I'll turn it over to Mike Payne and we'll get things underway.
All right. Hello, everybody. Happy Friday. I hope everyone's got some interesting plans for the weekend. Maybe even just relaxing and, chilling to some Netflix. So I'm just going to basically speak with Bo Wold today. He's our crew leader, as Brody had mentioned. And basically we're going to be asking him about working safely on a roof. We're going to be talking about his experience in the roofing industry, how he kind of got here, and even some of his interests as well. So, Bo, how are you today?
Pretty good. Pretty good for a Friday.
Yeah, awesome. And so, what do you got for us in terms of working safely on the roof? Because I know you've been working on the roof for probably about 6 years now, and you haven't had any real incidents or anything. So so I think you're a pretty good guy for this. And I know you also manage our crew, and everyone works pretty safely around you. So if somebody was about to get on their roof, let's just say a homeowner, what would your recommendations be to working safely?
Well, there's quite a few things to think about before you decide to get onto a roof. If you're a homeowner, for one, is it worth the risk that you are going to be the one who does that? You're going to want to look at different types of safety equipment. You're going to want to watch courses on how to wear your safety equipment, what type of equipment there is. And if they decided that they're, capable of getting up there, then I guess, yeah, they can go up there. But they're seeing a lot of people going up and down the ladder, and the time I've been working with you guys is some people are really good at it and some people are really afraid. And if you've never been up there and you're not experienced, it's going to be kind of a whole different world. There's a lot of risks. There's a lot of danger involved.
I'm going to stop you there for a second. So what I've noticed particularly is that people who are afraid are some of the most dangerous people to be on the roof. I mean, they're a danger to everybody around them, and they're a danger to themselves. So do you find that true?
To a degree, yes. I've also seen people there's danger in people who aren't afraid, because you get a guy up there who's not afraid of being on the roof, and he kind of thinks he Hercules or Superman. And to me, that's almost more of a risk than somebody who's aware of the risks that come with that. So
I see. Yeah. So I guess maybe what you're saying is there's kind of a healthy respect is needed, kind of a balance there. So, so I mean, aside from like watching safety tips and things like that online, how would how would a homeowner set up a ladder properly?
well, they would first off make sure that their ladder is up to date. They're not using an old wooden rickety kind of thing. They want to find level ground, and they'd place it level using a 4-to-1 ratio. Just to figure out what that is, you kind of set the ladder up, lean it on the eaves trough, put your toes at the bottom of the rungs, stick your arm out like that, and that'll give you a 4-to-1 ratio. So you'll know that the angle isn't too steep, or it's not leaning way out. They want to make sure that the surface they're putting it on isn't ice or slippery material. Because
Right. Yeah.
ladders are a big risk, and they're one of the main causes of injuries in the roofing industry. So, they'd want to start with proper ladder safety. Once they're comfortable that their ladder is set up right, then they'd have to go up top and install their anchor and their rope system for their harness.
Right. Okay. Yeah. Interesting. I've seen incidents, particularly with vinyl decks. I find those are super dangerous, and then also wooden decks. If there's any bit of frost or moisture, that ladder will slip right out on you. Like it's just gone.
Yeah. That happened to me. I was working November or so, and it was a bit frosty out, and I don't know, I had 10 feet maybe to the lower that I was working on. I set a ladder up like that. I figured, I checked out the material, and it seemed like it was good to go. I set my ladder up properly. I got 8 feet up the ladder, and then the bottom just blew out on me. Both my legs went inside the ladder, and luckily I landed all right, but that could have been a pretty big deal.
Wow.
So that's definitely a dangerous material to be going on.
Right, and that kind of takes me to the next step here. So I mean, you've covered some of the how it should be level and where it should be in regards to like the ratio 1-to-4. How would you secure a ladder?
Well, you can use we have ladder guards that you can go buy at Home Depot or Rona or whatever, and they just fit inside your eaves trough, and it helps secure the ladder so it doesn't slide left and right. Once you have that in, then you can use a bungee cord or a rope, whatever you might have on you, tie it in, make sure you're good to go there. It always helps to have somebody else there with you as well. Maybe the initial setup, they can hold the bottom of it, make sure it's good.
Right. Yeah, I think one thing I noticed that you like to do is take the bungee cord and wrap it around the rung of the ladder. So I find that was kind of a cool tip and trick there. And
yeah, that's right. Keep it tight on there. So,
so how far above like the eaves trough or edge of roof should the ladder be?
Well, by code, I think it's 3 feet.
About 3 feet.
You want it 3 feet. It makes it easy. You have something to grab onto when you're stepping onto the roof, and then when you got to get back onto the ladder as well, you have something to hold on to. So
Absolutely,
3 feet that's a good number to use. 3 rungs.
Okay. And now since just working on the roof, what would you say you do to keep things safe on the roof while you're moving around? Like what tips or tricks do you think you have for that kind of thing?
Well, definitely trying to keep the roof surface clear and clean. I've been on lots of sites where it's just a mess. There's hoses and cords and radios and ropes just laying everywhere. So keeping an organized situation on the roof is one way to avoid a hazard like that.
Right. with my working on the roof, I found also a good idea is, and I know you follow this as well, just keeping the loose debris off the roof, because one big windstorm or one big gust of wind, you never know what's going to happen. You get hit in the face with a shingle or something like that, and you're gone, right?
Yeah, totally. Having a good plan before you start your job helps with that. You have your meeting in the morning, everybody agrees on what they're going to do. So you start ripping the roof, you have guys tossing the shingles off as you go, and just keep everything in order, basically. If the tidier you keep it, the safer you'll be.
Right.
So, yeah, loose debris is a hazard.
Yeah, totally. All right, and like, so I mean, you haven't fallen off the roof any times, and I mean, but have you? What would you say? Like, did you learn through your near misses? Because everyone has a near miss on the roof. So, have you learned anything from your near misses?
Yeah, I'd say so. It seems, near misses they're scary. What I learned from them is that you definitely need a rope in a dangerous situation. It's nothing to play around with. I mean, even if you're 4 feet off the ground, you can get seriously injured from that. So I've learned just to wear your rope and try to stay safe. It's not worth getting hurt over.
Right.
Yeah, I kind of picked up on that rule a little late, I suppose.
Yeah.
It was the elephant in the room, I guess.
What do you mean by that, there, Brody?
Well, I just mean like the first point Bo had made. Obviously, even 4 feet off the ground, you can sustain some pretty serious injuries. So wearing a rope and being conscious of your rope constantly is one of the primary steps, in roof safety. I just interjected with saying how I think I learned that lesson a little late, obviously.
Yeah. I mean, the rope doesn't work unless you hook up. One thing I noticed that something we've learned is that working with other people, sometimes you really got to check on that, that hookup at the top of the roof, because especially when you're working with new people and things like that. Like sometimes people like to do weird things like unhook your rope. Like that's just like that's crazy. I can't believe that some people have done that. Like when that happens, you really got to ream that person out and make sure they never do that again, because that's crazy. You think you're hanging on the end of the roof, and then you think your rope's going to help you, and then it's like totally loose. Yeah, totally horrible. Okay, and what are your thoughts on using like kind of like cleated footings there, Bo?
Yeah, the corkers, they're a good idea if it's really icy out. I guess an issue I would say with those corkers would be it kind of gives you a false sense of security. They do hold your grip, but a lot of times guys will be thinking, oh, just because I got my corkers on doesn't mean I need my rope. Because, I got grip right now, so they're kind of walking all over the roof, and sometimes the corker may slip off, or
right.
It just sometimes you just slip. So having proper footwear is definitely a good idea. When it's icy out though. Sometimes it doesn't really matter what you're wearing.
Right.
So it just comes down to wearing your rope, basically. That's the for sure way that you will be safe.
Right.
And having it properly installed, like you were saying earlier, with some guys may unhook the rope for some reason.
Well, that kind of also like kind of begs the question. There's always the weird thing. It's like, getting onto the roof is always a challenge. And I know when I go onto a roof, I like to have a valley section. And if anybody doesn't know what that is, it's like this, it's like where the roof kind of meets like that. And then, you are kind of like that. And then you put your ladder up right there. And then you can have kind of 2 footings there. It can get you to the top of the roof like that. But sometimes it's really challenging getting up there just to even get your rope in, like it's not like you can have a helicopter drop you in, and
Yeah, definitely. Some roofs you just get a little bungalow with a regular 412 pitch on it and you don't have an issue. But when there is a 12-12 pitch or something like that, then aiming for a valley section is definitely going to give you more, a better route to the top.
Right. I think another way to get there if you're in a really tricky spot. I haven't had this happen very often, but you just install like a jack and a plank along the bottom there.
Yeah.
That also helps too, I think.
Yeah, install your roof jacks and kind of build yourself a ladder out of wood on the way to the top. There's no real safe way to do that though. Like you're still not technically hooked up on the way up there, so it's
right.
You have to be really smart with that, and install your jacks.
Yeah, I guess
it's a dangerous. Like there's nothing really in the rule books about that, right? Like once you set up for your site, you must wear your rope by law, but they don't really have a proper plan to install the rope.
Yeah, for sure. No, the first step is the scariest and the most dangerous. And the bottom line is you can only prevent injuries. You can't actually 100% eliminate them. But, I mean, so safety protocols are great. Okay, so moving on a bit here, I'd just like to know what your story is with getting into roofing. You want to get into that a bit?
Yeah, it was quite an interesting story. I think it was 2014 or so. I think I was landscaping before that, and I just wasn't having fun doing that, wasn't enjoying it. And I was dating a girl at the time, and her sister happened to be your girlfriend, which was interesting.
Oh, yeah, right.
And I knew you owned a roofing company. We would see each other once in a while, not too often, but... So I decided I'd go into roofing. I didn't ask you for a job, but I went down to Kijiji, found a guy. He sounded all right, so gave him a call, and he said, "Oh, okay, well, I'll pick you up at 8 a.m. the next day," and off we go, kind of thing. And I was there for a few days or a week or so, and then I think it was Thanksgiving. There was some sort of family gathering or outing that me and you both went to with our girlfriends there. And I was describing the guy to you, telling you different things and kind of car he drives. And you said, "That really sounds like this guy, Brandon." Like, well, his name's Brandon. And so it kind of turned out I was working for you before I knew that I was actually working for you. So it was pretty weird.
That was that was hilarious. I couldn't believe it. I was like we're basically talking about how I was kind of thinking I could hire you on, and then I was like, oh, damn, you're already working for me. Oh, that's kind of interesting. All right, well.
Yeah, it's weird the world works that way.
Yeah. Well, since then, I know I was subcontracting back then mainly. So, yeah, we've really grown a lot together in that time. So, so how would you say it's been working with No Payne Roofing? Like, what's it been like for you?
It's been incredible. I've worked for my roofing career. No Payne Roofing has been the majority of the time, but I've been with a few other crews here and there, and my experience there wasn't very enjoyable whatsoever. You got the stereotype of roofing. It does exist, and people are assholes, and that happens a lot of the time on other roofing crews. They're just kind of yelling at you, and they don't really treat you as a person. So, No Payne Roofing I feel like we're taking the stereotype of roofing away. It's always been, you've treated us fair. You don't like yelling at people. You tell us to wear our ropes. It's a healthy work environment. So that is huge. That's I don't think I'd be roofing if it wasn't for this company.
Awesome. That's really good to hear. I mean, I think it's that's just the way it should be. Like, why does the roof is a hard enough place to be on its own with its own challenges. You don't that's good points that you bring up there. Okay, and so I mean, what would you say your aspirations are with roofing?
Well, in what way? What do you mean?
Like, so I know you're a crew leader now. So like what, like I mean, and I think you said you wanted to at one point train the younger generations. I think you were talking about something like that.
Yeah, I mean, in the long run, eventually I want to be able to get off of the roof, but just training new people and then being able to run my own crew and have other people experience what I've experienced, moving their way up in life and just being successful and living as stress-free as possible while at work. Like you said, the job is stressful itself, so you don't need to make it more stressful. So I'd like to kind of continue that mentality of training people.
Yeah, no, for sure. No, and I like the idea, of bringing new people in, because when you train people that don't have any bad habits, basically, and then you can kind of show them the ropes and things, because I just noticed that, I'll be seeing guys that, apparently been in the industry for 20 years, and they're stapling in the middle of the valley, or they're high nailing, and it's just like, how have you been doing this longer than me wrong the entire time? That's
Teaching the old dog new tricks kind of thing.
Yeah, exactly. And people get really like boastful and prideful at that point. And it's like you can't teach them anything after that kind of age. But it is quite difficult finding new blood to get into the industry. I got to say that. So what would you say are like some of your interests, like just aside from roofing?
Aside from roofing, my interest would be, well, I like a lot of things. I enjoy the little things in life. I enjoy snowboarding, and just trying to live stress-free would be my interest. And just, the world's hard enough. We don't need to make it harder on each other. Eventually, just be able to retire and not have to worry about too much. Just have a good time and be nice. Have nice people around you. Surround yourself with good people.
So you mentioned the word retire. So what is retirement to you?
Oh, not too much obligations. Kind of being able to financial freedom. Being able to do what you want in a day. Not
Right. Okay. I know you also like to trade in the stock market a bit.
That's right.
What's that? So you started that not too long ago. What's been your experience with that?
It's been a great experience. You brought me into it, and from someone's perspective who has never been in there, it kind of looks pretty scary. You see all these charts and numbers and all these big terms, and once you kind of get into it a little bit, you realize it's really not that difficult. It's a good way to make extra money, and to me, you're not really risking anything. Like if you make an educated choice, then it's worth the risk. There is risk, but it's worth it.
I mean, there's a risk with crossing the road every day. There's a risk getting up on the roof. We're surrounded by risks every day. So who would you say is a big influence in your life? Like maybe a famous person or somebody else. Like who would you say is a big influence to you?
I don't really know how to answer that. I don't think I've ever thought about that.
Okay. I think
it'd be hard to pinpoint one person. I think a lot of different people do a lot of great things. So it'd be hard to say one person is the one that I'm influenced by.
Who would you say is making the biggest changes today in the world?
Elon Musk is one of the guys that I really appreciate what he does.
What do you like about what he does?
Well, he brought Tesla for one, and it's not just because the guy is a genius and wants to make a bunch of money. He wants to clean up the world with clean energy, and he wants to benefit mankind. So,
yeah, sounds pretty noble to me.
Yeah, and he's got SpaceX going to the moon or to Mars and stuff. So it's awesome to me.
Yeah, no, I agree. I've been really interested to see it. It does kind of seem like he's just like he's not really in it for the money right now. He just wants to do things.
Yeah, and I guess that's an inspiration in its own to me. So
Cool, man. That's pretty cool stuff. Did you? I know you watched our last podcast there with Brody, the man who survived the fall.
Yep.
Did you have anything that you wanted to add to that?
Possibly, you might have to refresh my mind on that one though.
Okay. I just remember you kind of discussing me that there's some things you want to talk about, so I don't know if we talked about them today. I know there's some like safety stuff that you kind of thought that you might wanted to have brought up in that whole story.
Yeah, the safety thing, like Brody's a well-trained guy and he's been on the roof for many years, and like he said, you kind of get up there and you get complacent, and the next thing you know it can be disastrous. So it's just even if you've been roofing for 20 years and you think you're safe and you think you know it all and you're not going to fall, it happens. It can happen to anybody.
Right. What I found crazy about that whole story, and it's something that kind of like that brought some perspective to me, is that a traumatic event like that, it's like like say I was to go for a drive and I was going to be in a horrible car accident. This whole day would be erased, and maybe even days before that it'd be like I'm living now and I'm seeing now, but it could be completely gone as if it never happened. And it's like that's just a really strange concept to me, because right now we're remembering everything just fine. I'm going to remember this day for a long time, but one step I could go out and hit my head real hard and it'd be like this never happened.
Yeah, I remember the day very clearly. I know Brody says he can't really remember that day.
Well, you were the one who found me. Like,
yeah.
I mean, once you realized I wasn't on the roof anymore, you were the first one to come down and take a look for me, I guess, right?
Yeah.
You said that you found me leaning up against the gas meter between the two houses, standing remarkably.
Yeah, so me, you, and Nolan were there that day. Nolan was kind of on the front triangle of the roof. I was on the right section, and you were kind of further right. And I knew all of us were up there. And I just remember hearing some sort of noise, and I thought maybe his kids were playing or something in the background. And it was weird. And it went on for a little bit, and then I looked around and noticed it's just me and Nolan up there. And I was working right near the ladder, and there was no way that you had passed me. So I looked over, I saw the gutter kind of dented, and then I seen it was snowy out that day, but I seen the snow had been knocked off of the corner of the shed, and then I seen you standing holding the gas meter. And it was pretty gruesome, man. Like, there was blood on the ground, and it was very scary. I knew instantly he had fallen. So I ran over to Nolan to call the ambulance. Brody fell. We proceeded down, and then that's we told you have to lay down, kind of, and like I don't want to have to experience that ever again. Like,
Totally.
It doesn't matter if it's a friend or some random guy I don't know. It's just very scary. Like, you weren't there. Like, you were conscious, but you weren't you. So
you had to have to come around and find one of your best friends like completely disconnected from himself like that after a severe injury. That wouldn't be great for anybody to go through.
Just makes everybody feel helpless. Like, we're not doctors. Like, we can't fix you. Like, it happened and it happened. So the only thing we can do is prevent it.
That's very true. And the interesting thing about roof injuries is that, like, when I think a lot of people in their minds, when they think of falling off the roof, they think of broken legs. They don't think about a head injury, and that's really the worst kind of injury you can get. I gotta say it. That's the worst.
Yeah, head, neck, spine, anything can be life-threatening. So
I got lucky. I'll tell you that, for that kind of injury. I mean, and for the kind of potential that scenario had to be like much more severe than it was just pure luck, I think, more than anything else. I can't really attribute how things went to anything other than luck. I mean, somebody was on my side that day, I guess.
Hey, man. Well, I mean, I think a lot of people were praying for you, sending you good vibes and energy, and I think that made all the difference. I say before we wrap this up here, I'm just going to see if anybody's asked any questions.
Well, you check that out. I've got a question for Bo, actually, because you mentioned seeing blood, and that's not a detail that I remember about that. Like, I'm trying to think of the list of injuries, and I mean, with my broken collarbone, even, it didn't break skin.
Sorry,
as
one
far
sec
as I
here.
can tell, I'm just wondering where that could have came from. Probably, I guess, with like a concussion, your nose could start bleeding, something like that.
Yeah, you had a little bit of blood coming out of your nose, and some of it coming out of your mouth. Yeah, like once we laid you down, your eyes were kind of rolling back, and yeah, you just had nose blood, and I don't know if you bit your tongue or something, but there was a little bit dribbling out of there. So
Could have been that. Yeah, well, I don't know. Just when I think about the details of that whole morning, the only real thing that to me matters really I'm not considering, but when I think back to that whole scenario, most prominent is just kind of the involvement that you and everyone else on site had after an accident like that. I mean, just reiterating to me how you felt in that moment and what you went through, dealing with that kind of scenario just makes me really grateful to have you guys on site there with me. Like you guys both, you and Mike today talked about, not working by yourself in certain scenarios. And like, if I had been on my own, that could have been a totally different scenario. So, I mean, I'm just super grateful for you and for everyone else who was there to do what you had to.
It could have been a lot worse if no one was there. So I think another thing is having your coworkers that you work with trained in fall arrest and how to perform a rescue. They should be wearing a rope. So if a guy does fall off the roof and he's hanging there by his rope, if it's me, I want to be confident that the rest of the guys on my crew are going to be able to rescue me as well. So just having everybody trained in safety and realizing the risks everything has so they can act quickly upon it is a big thing.
Yeah, and you mentioned just you were, educated enough to know to kind of lay me out in the way that you did just to prevent further injury and, kind of rather than have me walk around like I was, you knew well enough to get me to, go in a safe position. You wanted to get up really bad. I ran to my car, and then luckily I have like 9 different articles of clothing in there at all times, coats and stuff. So I laid you on that, and we kind of made you just lay there until the ambulance showed up, because we didn't know the extent of the injuries. Yeah,
so
what else can you do, really?
That's kind of
keep you warm, I guess.
Told you to help's on the way.
Yeah, man. Yeah, well, I'm grateful and appreciative of, the education you had in that moment to act the way you did and the way everyone else did. That was good. I'm super grateful for that, because I was working with a bunch of people who just, I guess, were overcome by fear or panic in that moment, even though they weren't the one if they weren't the one that went through that kind of accident, it still can have an effect on people to the extent where they could freeze or not know what to do or say, I guess. And you were able to control your reaction enough to be able to think logically about what to do and how to do it, to help me, obviously. So that's a huge part of the story. I was working with people, my best friends, that just were able to control themselves through a crazy scenario like that. So that's a huge attribute that you and the guys share, for sure, because I could have been in much worse shape if you guys panicked, so grateful.
Yeah, no, everything, everyone responded really well. I got a call right away. They found you right away, which was great. We got a question here from Brick by Brick Home Inspection, Leighton Jantz. He says that, what pitch do you guys use safety lines? And basically it's any pitch, really. It could be a flat roof. If you have a flat roof, you need to build a railing all around the perimeter, or be tied off. It could be it's about I think it's 1.5 meters off the ground. After you're 1.5 meters, then you need to tie off, and basically as well. With every professional, that you need to fill out these documents here, like this guy right here. This is our occupational health and safety bulletin, and then you also need to fill out.
I think it's 8 or 9 feet for the code. So if you go above 8 feet or 9 feet, then that's where you need.
Yeah, it's I think it was it might even actually be 1.2 meters. But either way, I mean, it's just like just rope up. I think that's the best way to do it, because you can hurt yourself really at any bit off the ground. So, all right. So, anything else at top of mind for you there, Bo?
Not currently, no.
How's it been managing a crew? What's that been like?
It's good. I enjoy it. What I think I bring to the table is I want to bring a different experience to roofing. Like I said, I've worked on a few different crews where it's just not very enjoyable, and it kind of scares people away. And almost anybody you ask, like, they've tried roofing at one point, and well, the majority of them aren't doing it anymore. And I think that's because, for one, the job can suck, and for two, the people you're working for, they make it even worse. And I want to change that, and give people the benefit of the doubt. I don't need to be a dick when I'm at work. I feel like I'm pretty laid back with the way that I do things. Ask people to be there on time, wear their ropes. They know the task on hand. I don't like to micromanage and yell at them and tell them they're holding their gun the wrong way or whatever.
There's important things that you gotta say in order to. But there's also like micromanaging, right? Like, it's too much. Sometimes it's just good to let people kind of do their own thing to a certain degree. And I think I was with that. I think I was like that with all of you guys when I was training you up.
Yeah, you definitely were.
Hey, Brody, you want to find out what is the exact depth you need to be off the ground before you got to rope up, legally speaking?
From what I remember from having safety officers show up to site, it was around 9 feet. I think you guys said.
Yeah,
9
that's
feet,
we need a. There's. I know it's. You're saying that's imperial. We need. I think the metric. I was actually thinking it was 1.2 meters off the ground, but it might. I know it's around that 1.5 mark.
Well, because the length of your lanyard plus your lanyard, if it pulls out 3 feet, and your lanyard is 3 feet, that's 6 feet. So if you fall off from 5 feet, you're gonna hit the ground because after the absorption.
Yeah, that's right.
So I think that's why that rule exists.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, no, it's obvious. Yeah, that's a necessary rule for sure. From what we have here with OH&S, it says occupational health and safety laws generally require action when a worker has the potential to fall about 3 meters or 10 feet. So
3 meters, okay.
Usually, like the average height of like an eaves trough, like on most residentials that we see, I guess. Yeah.
Okay.
Usually, 3 meters or 10 feet.
So to better answer brick by brick home inspections question, it's exactly 3 meters. Doesn't matter what the pitch is, you have to be roped up. So my policy is you just rope up all the time, and don't take any risks that you don't have to. I mean, even like what Bo was saying, even if you can hit the ground with your lanyard and such, if you fall off the roof, you got a split second where you can grab that rope, and that might help you from falling off the edge. So that's kind of the way I look at it, because I know when you're falling, you're trying to grab anything you can.
Yeah.
And but the one big thing is I find that's great for not falling off the roof is just making sure you have no swing distance at all. So you set up all kind of like lots of anchors. So as soon as you start to move over a little bit on the roof, just go to the top, take your anchor, switch your rope to a different anchor, and then you go down. So you're always got a straight line, and then your rope grab's always nice and tight, and then that way it's literally impossible to fall off the roof, because like if you have a big swing distance and you fall off the roof, one, you can hit the ground, two, you can smash into windows, you can hit the stucco, all these things, and I think you know what it's like. I mean, not you know what it's like, but I mean, it's pretty gruesome what happens if you don't wear your harness properly. So what do you got to say about that?
Not wearing your harness properly. I won't go into it. You guys can look it up if you want, but you can get degloved, and it's pretty bad. That's up to you to lolook at. But
self-explanatory. There's degloved.
Yeah, you can. You got bad injuries. You'd almost wish you hit the ground. So it's important to wear your harness properly. Just go through the training and do it right. One other thing is, when you're setting your anchors up, you got to make sure that you're setting them up in the correct placement of the roof, because when you go to the peak of the roof, that's where you put your anchor on. And if you just nail that thing anywhere, the only thing you're going through is maybe 3/8 piece of plywood there, and it can pull right out. You have to make sure you're in the roof truss or a solid 2x4 holding, because that happens to people all the time. They think the anchor's good, and it pulls right out of the roof.
Right.
Another thing is just get somebody else to hook your rope up to your clip on the back, and get someone else to check it, because sometimes if you're trying to hook up your own rope back there and you think you're on there, you could be on your hoodie or something like that. I've had it happen to me before where I was wearing a side hook. Technically, you're not supposed to wear them, but I did that day, and this was a close call. I hooked it up. I felt it clip in. I went to go lean off the roof, and I looked, and I was on my hammer holder. So it's just a little thin piece of metal. So yeah, just you always got to take a second look. Make sure you know what you're doing.
That's an interesting point too, right? Like if you hear somebody fall off the roof, like usually the first people's reaction is that, oh, he wasn't roped up, but not always true. Sometimes they thought they were roped up and somebody unhooked them and the rope came down with them, or like I said, they hooked up to their belt instead of their side hook. That's definitely a concern, right? That's definitely a possibility. So I mean, anytime you hear somebody fell off, doesn't mean that they didn't hook up. So there's always lots of possibilities for everything. So okay, well I think we've all said everything we wanted to say today. Is there anything at top of mind for anybody before we end this cast?
I just found it interesting talking about the the morning of the accident, only because me and Bo haven't really talked about it much. Like I haven't really asked him to kind of tell me the story, or we haven't really talked about that much. But from what you've been saying and the way we've been talking about it, it was insightful for sure, and it reminded me obviously of how big of a role you and the guys on site really played that morning. So it was nice for me to hear that and be able to show my gratitude to you, I guess, because like I said, we didn't talk about it too much, I guess.
Yeah,
the past is the past, but to hear that story was nice, and it was a nice little reminder.
You gotta have everybody's backs when you're working together. It's a team effort, so.
Right. Yeah, that's a good point. There is safety is everyone's responsibility.
Right. Indeed. Yeah, we luckily were a tight-knit enough group to respond the way everyone did, to be a part of the situation, for the greater good, I guess. And yeah, it was nice. It was nice to really feel, that team element come into play when people reacted the way they needed to. So it was good. Good stuff.
All right. Okay. Well, just like to thank everybody for tuning in. If you got any questions, leave them down in the comment sections. Don't forget to like and subscribe to our YouTube channel. We also just started up our TikTok, so come in there and check that out if you like. if you want. You got any tips and tricks for us, let us know. Also, if you want to join the podcast, you can join anytime. We do them live. We're going to try to do them anyways twice a week, once at 3 p.m. on Wednesdays and then 3 p.m. on Fridays. But they don't always have to be live. You can come in. We do some pre-recorded stuff, give you some promo, whether you're an artist, whether you're a tradesman, whether you're just a local that wants to get the word out about something. We definitely want to hear about it. Give us a call. Thanks for watching.